And a very big warm welcome to the Barfield Inquiry Sunday Sermon. My name's Lee Keys of systembet.co.uk, and with me, as always, is John Lang of John Joe's Blogspot. We've got a cracking show for you tonight. Very, very busy, covering the ropes in depth, and we're going to be looking at Zetland tomorrow. Lots of questions. So, John, are we okay to get firing off to the questions straight away?
Absolutely, yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah, let's go through these questions, and we do appreciate these questions, by the way. And the first one is from an old friend of ours, Ian Davies, good fan of the show. 2 months into the turf season, with the Derby a mere 6 days hence, he says we have 3 national hunt cards and no flat today, John, on the Sabbath. What in the name of chinless public schoolboys is happening here? I mean, John, you could probably answer this perfectly.
Well, I mean, I've said all along that the ones from good families that end up working for the BHA either those that get kicked out of Sandhurst or are too thick for a job in the city. And I think that shows itself to be the case here because, I mean, you're in the peak of the flat season and the chance to stay on 3 sticks meetings like this, it's absolutely disgusting, really, and it makes you wonder who's actually driving the game when it's like this. And you know, you can't possibly keep an handle on all this and follow it as well as you would want to. You know, I mean, you need to pick a chord and concentrate on it for me at the minute, because anybody who's doing both chords at the minute, they've got my admiration, because I couldn't do it. I simply couldn't do it.
No, I mean, to me, I don't think I can remember in my racing memory this amount of jump meetings like ever at this time of year. I mean, what I know, like Ireland's been demanding it. They're saying they're demanding it, but Punchestown used to finish at the Punchestown Festival, and that was it. And now Punchestown have put on an extra Saturday and Sunday, and I don't know what's going on. I do think this is like bookie driven. I cannot see this being BHA or horse racing Ireland decisions. I just can't. It just doesn't make any sense. I think there's plenty of good flat cards to put on, or potentially. Whether the bookies don't want us to bet on the flat, I don't know. I have no idea. But I mean, he's a turn off for me, Ian. So you're right. I do think the BHA really are sending us downhill and quickly. Second question from Carl Swanson, and it's again the BHA and their ninny ideas. Are you besides yourselves with excitement? He says to us. He says, no, not for the Oaks and Derby. He means the start of the racing league, John. So, are you excited?
I absolutely can't wait, because the sooner it starts, the sooner it finishes. In all honesty, I mean, have we had any more information through about it? Or was the original press launch with the nice lunch all they were prepared to do until there was another nice lunch in prospect?
I think there's been a few of them, yeah.
Oh yeah, there'll always be a nice lunch. But I mean, again, Shergar Cup, illustrates perfectly well this isn't a team game. They won't learn from that. Here we go again, the racing league, trying to model it on football because football's awash with money. It just, if the brains got any smaller, they'd fall out their ears, wouldn't they? I mean, it's just absolutely ridiculous.
Definitely unworkable from a betting point of view, because when it's team games, you can't. I mean, there's nothing worse than if you back one, but you're being sacrificed, the sacrificial lamb for the hold up horse. It's like, oh well, fantastic. So it doesn't really work for me as a betting medium, and the same as the Shergar Cup never has. But again, these are, and I call them ninny ideas from the BHA, thinking they're going to encourage the wider masses to get involved in the sport. And, it probably has a minimal effect. The only good thing I can see this time, and I split credit to the Racing League management, I'm going to give some credit here where it's due, because I think I've given them a hard time privately and a little bit publicly in past podcasts about why they're getting salaried CEOs of the Racing League. It just doesn't make any sense. However, they have earned the corn here because they've got some decent sponsors of the teams, and one of them, I think, is quite a coup, really. They've got TalkSport as one of the sponsors of the teams, which that does open exposure to young adult males, and I do think that's a very, very shrewd move to get TalkSport as a team owner, like, if you like. So I think kudos on that one. But as I said, he still doesn't make me a fan of it. It's just the fact that, well, you might get some decent exposure there. So Carl, yeah, that's me and John. We love it. We absolutely love this shit that the BHA keep trying to turn racing into. Next question is more of a form book kind of question, and it's from Paul Richardson. And he said, John and Lee, he says, are subscriptions like Timeform worth it? Sorry. £70 a month, I think, for Timeform, and Racing Post about half that. I mean, so if you subscribe to both Timeform and the Racing Post, you're looking at the best part of £100 a month to have two of our flagship form books, if you like. Is that value for money?
I think it depends what you actually want to get out your study and how much time you can actually spend on study, really.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're working and you're struggling to spend the time on the racing, I mean, racing at the minute, I mean, if you're going and putting the shift in somewhere, you cannot possibly come home and review the racing and stick ratings on it all and adjust master ratings. And,
not when they're putting 8 on a day.
It's a physical impossibility. So, I mean, you'd have to some kind of service, I would have thought, if you're going to be remotely serious about it. Timeform's a good service for ratings, I think you'd probably do have a hard job topping them. If that's the route you want to go down, I couldn't knock the expenditure, really. I think that's reasonable, depending on how much it leaves you to bet with over the month,
Yeah, I mean, I've tried everything, them all, and I've found what I'm comfortable with now, which is a Racing Post subscription. I don't bother with Timeform anymore, although I do purchase their sectionals from Simon Rowlands, and I use so I purchased the sectional times from Simon Rowlands. I subscribe to the Racing Post, and I subscribe to Proform Professional, which is a computer-based software where you can do systems and analyze sires, damn sires, all sorts. And I find that very useful for, obviously statistical data. I'm a big data freak, if you like, because obviously data is key. We need that's what we need to analyze stuff. So, and it's not cheap. I mean, if you had the 3 up, that would work out per month. I'm just trying to work it out. It would work out if you subscribe to, say, Proform, Timeform, and Racing Post, like I know some people do. That would work out about £180 a month. And like you say, it depends if you're getting value out of it and the amount of time you're spending to try and make it pay and what your stakes are. I mean, it's no good spending that kind of money every year if you're having 10s and 20s on. You need to have a bit more on. So it's kind of tricky, really. It's not cheap, but there we go, Paul. Hope that answers some of your queries there regarding the phone book publications over here. Question from Ian Sears, a good one, really. He says, in the Irish field this week, Jim Bolger, John, was quoted as saying, R.E. McSwiney, that I wouldn't like to see the word firm in the going at any flat meeting, as it's not in the best interests of horses to be asked to race on ground with firm in it. Wonder what your thoughts are. as surely good to firm is not only acceptable, but what they should be aiming for in the summer. Surely, Ian Sears says. Do you agree?
Well, I just think Jim's a shit house, really. I mean, if this was one of them with the steel sprung joints and would run up the Dublin Road, Jim wouldn't be giving a monkeys about what the ground was going to be like, as long as it didn't have the word soft in. That's my view of that. I mean, again, he's dressing it up as a welfare issue. Nobody has any stats on proper welfare, because even when the horses are injured themselves on good to firm ground, it could be good to firm watered ground that's loose on top, because nobody differentiates.
Yeah.
For the good of the breed, you want sound horses. You should be breeding from sound horses. Sound horses can run on good to firm ground. You know,
Yeah.
A lot of this cobbler's spells really comes from overbreeding the saddle as well as in that line, because you have these things with massive deep shoulders that in a lot of cases they couldn't even train the bloody things, and they certainly couldn't run on quick ground, and that got it into everybody's heads that people needed to water to produce safe ground and all this. And it's just a lot of nonsense, to be honest. I mean, it's people that train raspberries and they want to dictate what surface they're running on, because the proper racing machines would just slaughter them on decent ground, as we used to call good to firm ground.
Well, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I certainly can't remember any circumstances where Bath don't have the ability to water. So naturally at Bath, you get genuine, firm, sometimes hard ground. You know, it has been known, and I can't remember many horses breaking down at Bath, John.
No. I mean, it makes you laugh, really. I mean, they've got it in their heads that it's the ground that's at fault, and half the time it's the type of stock that they're buying, and you know, you look at some of these things that they talk about they want the safe ground for, you know, and I mean, they're so bloody front heavy you wouldn't believe it, you know, and then they take them to places like Epsom to run down a hill. And you know, you just think, well, what are you doing, really? You know, I mean, there's no wonder they're wanting softish ground, you know. I mean, it's a wonder they're not running them in carpet slippers as well. You know, it's just, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. You know, they think they're going to get it on what our class is decent ground, and they probably will, just due to the making shape of the horse.
I mean, do you think it's? I mean, this brings us nicely on to our next subject. And do you think it's a sign of the times, the way perception is of horses now, and the perception of animal cruelty, etc., etc.?
Oh, totally. You've only got to get somebody from Animal Aid start talking about what's acceptable on ground-related issues, you know, on the BHL. Then happily reel off a list to these Animal Aid people about all the courses where watering's taking place to produce safe ground, you know. And as I said, there is absolutely no stats on this planet to tell you that it's safer to run on watered ground, because they haven't compiled the stats properly.
No.
So,
like you say, evidence is key. And
yeah.
So that brings us on to our major talking point this week, where Monmouth Park in New Jersey decided to run a whipless meeting, and they said, right, whips are not allowed to be carried by jockeys or used by jockeys. I think they're allowed to carry them for safety purposes, but they weren't allowed to specifically use them to make them respond. And there was, I believe, there's only 13 jockeys that agreed to take part. A lot of the jockeys boycotted it. The meeting was about half down on betting turnover, so it was obviously quite a turn-off for the betting fraternity, which never seemed to get any kind of representation, as John Hines has rightfully said on Twitter, on our Twitter, say on this whip panel review, there's not one punter's perspective on the use of whips in this country. And I just think that this trial in America that took place, I'm not sure, I think it was a couple of days ago, or 2 or 3 days ago, that took place, that will have massive implications for racing authorities around the world, because as this gathers momentum by the media, and we know what media types we've got now. Everything's cruel, I'll stop this, it's cruel, you're thrashing these horses to death. I only see one thrasher in this game, it's Luke Morris. Thrasher Morris, he thrashes him. But I don't see, to be honest, I think most jockeys in this day and age are very mindful of the horse, and they know if an horse isn't responding, they don't whip them, within half an inch of their life. And obviously the whips have got better as time's gone on. John, what's your view on the way this is going?
They definitely want shot of the whip, don't they? And they're not being terribly subtle about it. I mean, I don't know how these people would have gone on 30, 35 years ago when the likes of Leicester and them were flailing into them with whalebone whips and putting whales like chessboards on their asses. I mean, I just despair, really, because there's no thought given to the power subs that own lazy horses. As we were discussing off there, I mean, how many's going to finish in the Eiger, if you get shot of the whip?
Oh.
You've got to accept, if you follow racing, that there is an amount of coercion about it. It's not just about these lovely little animals with the big floppy ears and they're going to run the guts out for you just because you sat on top of them. They're not. They're a working animal, and they need to be made to do their work on occasion.
Yeah.
If you're not comfortable with that, chances are the sport isn't for you. And I can see problems coming for the sport because it's clearly in the wrong hands at the minute. These people don't have the confidence in the sport to defend it against all comers. They just want to roll over to these people, but they don't know how to roll over either, and they're on a very dangerous slope because they haven't even drawn a line in the sand that they will not go beyond, because once they've got rid of the whip, then they'll want rid of the racing.
Yeah, I agree with
that. Because they don't like racing.
Yeah, I mean, surely, I've read comments on Twitter and I've read articles on this, and for me, if you're saying the whip is cruel or visually cruel and not needed and not necessary, which personally I'm not a supporter of, I do believe the whip has its place, because basically it's like everything. Is every school child obedient, correct, and does it things the right way? I've always said when you're teaching young people, basically, some people need an arm around them. Some people need, I won't say a good hiding, can't say that in this day and age, but some people need a little bit more persuasion. And I think that's the same with horses as characters. I don't think there's anything wrong with saying to a horse, look, you're not going about your job properly. It's what you're bred to do. Come on, let's do it. I mean, so what about like workhorses in fields, shire horses? I mean, do we just say we can't breed shire horses anymore because it's just not the done thing to breed a horse that is bred to work? I mean, you can go further down the tree and start saying, well, I say what then. Unless you're vegan, you shouldn't have an opinion, because if you're having an opinion that say, giving a horse a few backhanders is cruel, then don't you dare eat your steak. It's you're not allowed. For starters, for me, horses are not cows, right? They aren't built to be rugged, like farm beasts. They're basically finely tuned athletes. They're bred for a specific purpose. That's to run fast. And many thoroughbreds, for me, die of a lot of natural injuries, mainly at home as well. For example, I've known of horses dying from when they roll around a lot, they twist the bowels. There's lots of things they do. They break a leg when they get spooked. There's only like a big loud bang and it spooks them, and all of a sudden they're off and they crash through a fence or whatever. They're highly strung equine beasts, and I do think that the whip, for me, I think it's one of the least problems we've actually got. I would say it's more drug related. That's the problems. There's horses dropping dead in the USA from drug use. Santa Anita obviously had their problems. We're seeing drugs at an alarming rate throughout the world of horse racing. For example, reading about Lasix, a horse will piss out 20 to 30 pounds of fluid on race day when you apply Lasix. Like that, so it's good, and obviously that's an advantage. If you've got no dead weight, if you've got no water weight, 20 to 30 pounds off you, it's obviously an advantage. So my point is, we should be looking at other things rather than just basically corrective. I would class it as corrective measures. If a horse isn't concentrating, it needs a few smacks to run a bit quicker. I don't see a problem with that. I really don't. I don't understand people that do. But anyway, what do you think out there? Get back to us on Twitter and tell me and John if we're wrong. But I do think that we're barking up the wrong tree, and I certainly think we're trying to placate people, John, that are outside of the industry that have got no interest in racing whatsoever and never will. Do you agree with that?
Well, this goes back to what Claire Balding tried to do with the BBC racing coverage. She set out to make it appeal to people who didn't like racing, and ended up alienating the people that did. And something like this will do exactly the same.
Yeah, it's the wrong direction, folks. Right, well, that's all our talking points and topics done with. Now we're going to move on to the racing because this is an Oaks special. But before we get on to the Oaks on Friday, we are going to take a quick look at the Zetland Gold Cup tomorrow, which is the 440 at Redcar. It's a mile and a quarter event. It's Redcar, one of Redcar's flagship events of the calendar year. And sadly, obviously, due to prize money, we're racing for ridiculous money nowadays, which is rather sad to see. But John, the Zetland Gold Cup tomorrow. Have you any views? I think we've got Hartswood and Macram as joint favourites.
Yeah, I kind of like Hartswood going up in trip. I thought he ran really well at York behind Kinran the other day. Didn't do mainly could have backed Dodds' horse and Hartswood in the race against Kinran. They were second and third. But I thought Hartswood ran as though he would possibly be souted by another couple of furlongs, but I don't think it's a gimme that he'll stay given his running style. The best clue of him staying really is the breeding out of a six-trail mare.
Yeah.
It would definitely encourage you to have a bash over this sort of trip, because he does seem a little bit maxed out at around 95-ish over a mile, and if there is going to be any improvement to come, it'll probably be over further. The one I was interested in was actually Kagan of David O'Meara's. I thought this ran a very interesting race at the Dante Maiden. Cruised into the lead early in the straight. Was pressed from about the tail pole and ran about a bit once he was headed, to be honest. Banged into the arse back actually. Fisherable didn't do him any favours, but there you go. I think this one, having got a run under his belt, he can probably hang on a bit longer than he did there. He's come down a couple of pounds. I don't think that's significant really, because I think the race will have brought him on more than enough. I think that's a very sporting play at 25 to 1 actually.
It's a very interesting shout. This horse for Andre Farb was a useful animal. He was playing his trade at sort of Group 3, Group 2 level in France. And what was also more interesting was, one of my points was, I did feel there was a lack of pace in the race. There's not a lot that go forwards. A hyper-focus of... kaleidoscopic. I don't know. I've got all the words. Kaleidoscopic. That's the gin. Mick Shannon's. That's the one that goes forward. But with the lack of pace, you're starting to interest me with this, because, like you said, the way that he did travel at York was quite eye-catching. And if you can just like get onto that front end and do it nice and easily, and don't forget the ground at York, I thought was a bit weird. It was quite a bit loose. Like we said, we moaned at that meeting, because we just said it's York ground up when it gets a little bit soft. It's quite odd. I do think the ground will be really quick tomorrow, because obviously with the drying day we've had today, it'll be dry again tomorrow, and I do think we're going to get genuine good to firm ground at the Lurkel. So that's a good shout, John, at a big price, because I was going to say about the front end. However, I mean, I'm just going to put two horses to task here that I would like to back in any normal 10 furlong handicap, but I don't think they're going to get the pace to run at. It's Baryshnikov and Highway Grey. I think they're really progressive. I think they're going to end up higher this season than 84 and 89. Highway Grey won at Doncaster last time and beat a horse of Marco Botti's that runs at Windsor tomorrow, and Thibarn of Sir Michael Stout's that just got touched off by Tinker Toy at Newcastle the other night. And I just think that's very strong form, very nice, good, recent, strong form for the level. So Highway Grey, and the way he does it, he idles in front, he travels strongly and then quicks the front and then idles. I like him. And I thought Baryshnikov, he's also got form with Highway Grey. Highway Grey touched him off at Pontefract last year, and he did the job at Chester recently, beating Spirit Dancer. First impression arrival here was third, and Snow Ocean was fifth. That ran a close second to Soapy Stevens on Saturday. So I thought those two were the form choices for me. So I thought Baryshnikov and Highway Grey, but sadly, because they are sort of held up types, I didn't really want to get too much involved. But it's something to keep an eye on for you listeners anyway. John's selection there is Kagan at a big price, sporting choice there. And my two are Highway Grey and Baryshnikov. We move on to the Friday meeting at Epsom, which is the Oaks card. And we've got the Coronation Cup. John, anything quickly in the Coronation Cup that you liked? It's difficult with the anti-purse prices, but, you know, is there anything that took your eye?
Well, the biggest thing about the Coronation Cup for me is this short price favourite, Al Lassie.
Yeah.
I mean, all right, he's really, really visually impressive last time out when he beat Thunderous of the Screaming Kilt. But every time he's met a decent horse, he's got stuffed.
Yeah.
You know, he's rolled over all these non-entities, but I mean, goes to Goodwood, gets stuffed by Mogul, who's maybe only just on the cusp of being a decent horse anyway. Mishra thumped him, you know. I mean, you look at what he's beaten, and he's even money for the Coronation Cup. Whereas Japan has at least mixed it with decent horses for a lot of his career, you know. I mean, last year was maybe a bit of a write-off, but he looked back on song at Chester this year, I thought. And from an official ratings point of view, absolutely nothing in the toe. And the other one that I think is a bit of a fly in the ointment as well is the dual trainer Rafe and Ralph Beckett, Albert Lara, who horsed up at Ascot in that listed race in the manner of a very improved horse. Second's come out and ponched up at York since, which gives a bit of credence to the form.
Yeah.
I mean, I did happen to think it was a bit of a fluke at the time, someone winning that by 7 months, but I'm not so sure now. 8 to 1 about that against even money LRC. There's only one way I could jump there. Then when you throw Love into the equation as well, who admittedly has only really done it against her own sex and pretty much her own age group. I know the Yorkshire Oaks is open to all the ones, but you know, that one's 4-1. You know, I mean, this time last year, well, just after the Oaks last year, you'd have been astonished if somebody told you Love was going to be 4-1 for the Coronation Cup, wouldn't you?
But Love won't be running, will it?
Well, I mean, that's, you know, it's clearly a attempt to get people in. I mean,
it won't be running.
He can't run 3, can he? He can't run Japan, Rome, and Love. And, oh, God, of course, he's got his Derby win a certain town in there that's going to finish about 6th.
If Love was right, Love would be favourite. Simple as. So that's not running. It's just there for like token fancies and to lure people in, like you say. Albaflora, get your point. I mean, he thrashed Tribal Craft and the form's there for all to see. The 4th didn't run too bad either. Outlook and he'll come next time. If I had to have a choice in the Coronation, it'd be Pile Driver around the 8-1 mark. I just felt that he wasn't ridden very well against Sir Ron Priestley. He gave them a lot of rope. He obviously probably wasn't the plan to win. He was probably just prep for this. And the fact that, you know, Thunderous was 2 lengths behind. Alazi beat Thunderous 4 lengths. Well, Alazi's evens and Pile Driver's 8s, and Pile Driver's got possibly more solid form to boot than Alazi. The 3rd in the St. Ledger is for me probably the key form. So I just thought that was probably big around 8s. I wouldn't lay 8s. So anyway, going on to the main event on Friday. And by the way, we're doing a Friday show this week, and we've got the Ginger Hitler in to tip a few favourites for you for the Saturday Derby cards. We thought we'd bring him back. You know, we have to sort of be careful, you know, how much airtime we do give him. But we thought we'd bring him back for Friday's show, John. So, and I believe he's agreed to do it.
Yeah, he's well up for it. He obviously Bolshoi Ballet will be getting quite a positive mention.
It could be his nap.
Yeah. There's every chance, unless the Kilt's got one in the City Stakes or something like that that's going to lead all the way and it's about even money.
Right, I'll tell you what, let's sort this Oaks out. Let's sort our listeners out with a good preview of this Kazoo Oaks. Santa Barbara leads the field at 9-4. What are we saying about Santa Barbara as a filly, John?
My big concern with Santa Barbara really is the lack of experience and the way she goes about things. I don't think she's a gimme to go around here.
No.
I'd like to have seen her go into the bit better in the market. I'm just not convinced with her. I mean, she could have an awful lot of improvement in her and she could go and win the Zetland. But if she has got that improvement in it, I've missed it. I have to be honest.
Yeah, I concur with that. I wasn't impressed. In fact, for this race in particular, I'm opposing the Guineas form. I don't think the 1,000 Guineas was a strong race, and so I won't be supporting any 1,000 Guineas horse in here. That's me personally. And Santa Barbara, like you say, I don't think she's shaped like an Oaks filly in that, but we could be wrong. Snowfall, the Musidora winner.
Yeah, sort of came from nowhere, really, didn't she? Despite having campaigned in all the big 2-year-old races last year.
Yeah.
So it took everybody by surprise at York. I don't know whether she maybe had a bit of a soft lead and one or two of them were doing a bit too much behind, but
I think you're right.
You know, I think that might have been the case, but will them fillies have learnt anything, or will they all still be pulling like nutters anyway?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, Tiona was the one to take out the race. If you wanted probably the best filly in the race, as in what did the most wrong, it was probably Tiona. I mean, Noon Star was keen enough, but Tiona was also very keen.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I was warned off my contacts in that yard about that. She gets very hot and bothered at the start. She doesn't like the stalls, and I think and she gets very keen. And I think that on the big day, I just think that could be a big problem. I could, if it's a warm day, I can see a bit of a boil over from Tiona again, and that it's very difficult to support a filly like that is just all on her nerves, and so that's why it makes it hard to be confident. Like you said, Snowfall, I thought got a fairly comfortable lead. The time wasn't especially quick. So I'm not really a massive fan of Snowfall. The next filly in, I think, interests me more, John. Zayadar. I think she's a lot more interesting, but I do also think she's a potential St. Ledger filly, because the way she overhauled Mystery Angel. Now I know Snowfall beat Mystery Angel in the Musidora, but the way she did it on the heavy last back end at Newmarket in the Montrose said to me, this filly has got stamina in absolute spades. I'm not a fan of the pedigree. I'm not Tam Eales. I'm not bouncing. But in that Chester Oaks trial, you've got to say, John, surely she would have beaten Johnston's horse had she got a clean run.
Yeah, I thought so. Yeah, and you'd think she'd get a better run round here. I think she's also, you can guarantee that the 12 furlongs is going to suit. Any kind of pace is going to help. I mean, she's probably hard to pick holes in, really.
Yeah, I thought if anyone could have like an each way fancy at this stage, I think she's as solid as it gets, because I think she sees out the mile and 4 no problem. The one thing I would say is that she's never raced. It's probably going to be quickish ground at Epsom Friday, and she's never raced on ground probably as quick as what she's going to get at Epsom. And as I said, I do see her honestly as a St. Ledger type. I do. I think she's. Yeah. I think she has got absolute boodles of stamina. So that would be my only concern. If it did turn up good to firm, she might just get a little bit taken off her feet. And I mean, that brings me on to the gamble of the race, Divinely. Did you see why there's been so much money for Divinely?
No, I didn't. I thought it was hard to make a case for a badly being in need of the run at Lingfield. It just seemed to equate with the previous form. Sometimes with Aidan, he runs these fillies and runs them, and then the same as all the raw leg, and out of nowhere, and then the win 6 on the spin. It could be one of them, but I mean, up to press, I haven't been able to spot one. I have to admit,
No.
They know an awful lot more about their fillies than I do. I couldn't back it at 10-1.
No. I mean, like Saffron Beach, also, ran well in the Guineas, by New Bay out of a Ravens Pass mare. There's not a lot in that pedigree that says 12 furlongs to me. I don't know what you think.
No, you couldn't. You couldn't get involved there, I don't think. I think our future is like Coronation Stakes, Falmouth, basically like that.
Yeah.
They're probably obliged to have a bash at the Oaks, but no, not for me.
I'd say I mean, this is my choice, and I've just touched on Zadar, how much I liked her at Chester. But you might be surprised. My tip for the Oaks is the Johnson horse, Dubai Fountain. The reason being is that, yes, anyone that watches Chester, and you're going to say, well, Zadar turns that form around if she gets out. Yes, absolutely. However, I think there's more to it than that. The gallop was a bit stop-start. It wasn't quite. I don't think it would have suited Dubai Fountain either. I mean, if you look at this horse, over 7 furlongs and a mile, it's got top-class form. You know, second to Indigo Girl in the male. It was fourth to Pretty Gorgeous in the fillies mile. And you look at the pedigree. It's just, you know, it's a half sister to Leon Cavallo. It literally is stamina laden. And I just felt that Dubai Fountain might be strangely the one in it. And let's be right, it is a weak year this year. Again, I don't think we've got anything that stands out class-wise. And I just felt Dubai Fountain, if the kilt does what he does, and he just, I'm not saying get on with it, but, you know, at least sits very handy. I could see her running really well as well. I think
one he ran to me, it was one that he ran in the Derby in the same colours, DXB.
Yeah.
And that went close. It's uncomplicated, it'll stay the trip, and a lot of these won't.
Yeah. And I think that's, you know, that would give people a run for the money, I think, at a nice price. There's a lot of talent. Like I said, Tiona, I think, is a really nice filly of Roger Varian's, but you can't have it where they're just boiling over and going keen. That's it. You might as well just throw your money in the river. It's that's what. So I'm going to go for possibly a small bet on Zadar and a little bit of each way on Dubai Fountain. What would you go on the Oaks?
I think at the current prices, I'd probably have to chuck in with your bet on the kilt. Because there's no value in the front two in the betting, and as you say, Tiona, you don't know how she's going to react to the prelims. And Zayada, half the price of one that beat her. You know, I mean, all right, I agree, you would look at that and say she'd turn the form around, but come on, you know, she shouldn't be half the price of the one that beat her.
Especially on quicker ground, you know, because that's the thing. You know, she's never run on ground this quick. So again, half price. So I'm pleased not saying him cheap there. But yeah, it's a fascinating renewal. I hope you've enjoyed this show, folks. It's been an interesting one, and we're back on Friday after the Oaks to probably discuss how we've done our money. To discuss the Derby.
Excuses, Eddie.
Yes. To discuss the Derby with the Ginger Hitler. So it should be a really fun show Friday. We'll make sure we abuse him as much as we can. We'll certainly try. See if he's amenable to a bit of abuse. But yeah, so an exciting show to come, and I really hope you've enjoyed this Sunday show. That's all from me and John, and we wish you all the best this punting week. Bye for now.